Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and you are all amazing. Happy Monday to you. I hope you had a fantastic weekend for those of you who do weekends on Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, we are going to dive right in because I think it's going to be a short stream today. Today should be the last. What time is tomorrow's? Tomorrow at 1. So yeah, tomorrow should be a normal stream for this week and next, well, this week at least, and then we'll find out if I have actual jury duty next week, Monday, and then we'll decide what to do with next week. But if I am not selected for jury duty, or if I don't even have to show up at all, then we're going to do every day, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and there shouldn't be any conflicts unless something else happens to come up, but I don't think that it will. Deflex is here, Dukasoft is here. Dukasoft, I saw your message in Visual Studio Channel 2. Wishing everyone a good Monday. So kind of you. At 24 hours, yeah, I don't think so. Nope. Probably stick to using discord.net. Yeah, I haven't really been watching what he's been doing. But yeah, so we're gonna go into this. We started putting together some work items so that we can have a better understanding of what we're going to be testing. I think we also went ahead and started to write some of the service classes, or the interfaces, I mean, and then we had a discussion about when to use interface as opposed to abstract classes and why is it better to use one over the other. And for me, I couldn't come up with a good answer because it seemed like they provided a lot of similar functionality. We can go into more detail about that at a later time. But one of the major things that we saw was, or at least for me, the major thing is that I'm more familiar with working with interfaces than abstract classes. We also saw that any concrete class could implement more than one interface, but can only inherit from one other class, whether that's abstract or an extension of another class. Inheritance. So I don't know. I just find working with interfaces to be a lot easier. We use interfaces, INHERFACES, when we went to sleep on the couch. Says Dukasoft. Yes, this is true. And then what about abstract, I think is what it would be. Abstract? When we want to, get lean and fit and yeah. Okay, anyway, that was terrible. What is my volume at? My volume looks to be doing well. Good, fairly even. Maybe a little bit in the red, but that's okay. So we'll continue on. I am having trouble finding anything. All right, service interfaces. So we started on iAccount service. We started on iAccount service to provide an example. Whoops, that's what happened. I don't know why it's being weird. Oh. All right. And we were just trying to come up with a couple of examples for using an interface and using an abstract class and what it would look like. So I have, for example, a response model that could have had an abstract class, but I don't. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. So I'm stuck on needing my concrete models my concrete implementations of the models to be available to my interfaces, or I need to just be okay with using interfaces as the response type, for example here, which would mean that I have an iResponse model base, etc. And I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna go back to my typical approach. Because we have all of these. I mean, we were given a really, really good suggestion for how exactly to provide the concrete classes for these interfaces, which is to essentially inject a factory for every single one of these models that we need to use so that we can instantiate a new concrete class version for our application. So like all of these implement those interfaces. Yeah, we'll get there. I can't think of it. I can't think of how to do this. But we'll do our best. Yep, like the factory of iCoffee, actually. But no factory of tea. Actually, for some of you, you can do factory of tea. I will allow it. You can have your tea. I don't know you. Someone tell this request that I don't know them. Okay, so let's come up with a bunch of services then, and methods for those services, and we'll go ahead. I know that I just said that I want to switch it back to my typical approach. Which I still really, really, really want to do. I still really want to do it. Well, I don't want to fight with myself too much. I know that I will if I don't actually switch it up. So we're going to go away from using this abstractions approach for now, which means that all of the models that we create are going to be the concrete models that are going to be used whether we're doing testing or not. So regardless of what environment we're in, we're going to use the same models, same enums, and yeah, I like that better. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my enums. I'm going to put them, a copy of them for now, in chaired. I'm going to take my general, put it in chaired. I'm going to take my service interfaces, put it in chaired, and state interfaces, and put it in chaired. I'm going to take all of my enum localization and put it in chaired. Oh, do I have no localization in chaired currently? That would make sense, I guess. We haven't needed to do any localization for any strings that are produced in our shared library yet. Is this actually used? It is. Is this actually used? Oh, I have an identity model that I didn't see. Okay. ¿Qué más? my extensions. I have some enum extensions. Cool. All right. And now let's get rid of this. I'm not going to delete the project yet from disk, but I am removing it from the solution. And then we'll update everything little by little. Oh, yeah, that was right. Good. Good. But yes, happy Monday, everyone. Says Dukasoft. Happy Monday to you. I am still in the middle of being extremely busy. And today is going to be the most busy of the days. I have a meeting scheduled for 12:30, and it's probably going to last until sometime around 6 p.m. because that's when this item is due that we are trying to put together as good as possible. And I was actually anticipating being able to use all of today, all of this week, essentially, for continuing to solidify all of my studying and everything for the AZ204, because I'll be taking the AZ204 this weekend. And I want to be super prepared, and it'll be fun. I'll finally get that out of the way. It'll be off of my plate, and then jury duty. But it ended up being where I got pulled into this team and I'm helping out wherever I can. And I just happen to help out a lot more than I think was expected of me. But I really want to help with this effort. So, of course, I'm going to put everything that I have into it. Oh, wait, there was an error here. Huh? When did you lose that? We'll figure that out in a second. This guy's computer. Oh, right. I still do want my I lookup item view model stuff. So that's one reason that I didn't actually fully delete from disk. But I should be able to find it. Yeah, so it's still on disk. Boop. Tab selections. Nope, lookup. All right, so let's add this one into here. And we'll get all of the namespaces synced up shortly, or tally. Yeah, so that's good. Cool. Lastly, perfect. All right, so let's sync these namespaces to get everything in the right namespace. One thing that has been happening when I do this is anywhere that the objects are being used in a Razor component, it completely hoses their using statements. So it does this to it. And so I just do a find and replace for the entire solution at space using. Which is at using. And that should fix all of them, I hope. So let's try build. Build failed. State interfaces does not exist. State interfaces does exist. That was weird. Well, those are obviously not real errors. So we'll clear them out. There is going to be an error that is in here that is not false. Oh, right. It's in all of the import.razors most likely. They're probably importing abstract.interfaces or something. What are you looking for account service base for? This is probably one of those, yeah, it just needs to be cleaned. That'll be fine. That goes away. There's one. Here is our account service base that we just used as an example, but we didn't keep. What we will be injecting is an iAccounts service, which is implemented in account service. Yeah, and it was really interesting to find out that you can do, here's an abstract class that we're adding scoped, and here's the concrete implementation. I had never actually done it that way, but obviously it's possible. For a yellow pumpkin to become a golden carriage. It's possible. Who else? We fixed that. Oh, that's the dot razor dot. We'll get back to you. Those are warnings. I am still looking for my errors. So this add localization still isn't working. And it should. But I want to go up to my imports.razor just to make sure there is no reference to abstractions anymore. Actually, those can all get changed to shared. Okay, so let's clean and try another build and find out what is actually broken. Sorry, I got one eye on my email at all times. You and you. And you and you and you. Yes, yes, yes. Anything else? Nope. Good to go. All right. Okay. So once again, maybe we need a restore. No, we still don't have add localization. I don't know why we lost that by deleting the abstraction, except that the abstract or the abstractions project was the one that had the import or the reference dependency thing. Open with Notepad, please. And the one that we want, actually there are two. Apparently. Copy, copy. and put project references, these two. And save. KD, save. Okay, what do you say now? Service extensions now has add localization. And we're still trying to use account service base somewhere according to this, but we're not. We got rid of that. Oh, just kidding. It's still there. And there's my hiccup. Who else? Index.razor has one. I'm not exactly sure why, but that one did have an import for abstractions, even though we're not using abstractions in here. Okay. I think we're done with that. I think we are good to go. This is going to let us build now. Awesome. So we are built. Let's just make sure that we can still run. Cool. Everything looks like it's there. Everything from what we told it to do, which includes getting our drop-down lists from our lookup list state, is still there. Here's all of our accounts. We should still be able to add line items. Fantastic. Cool. $31 in tax for something that costed 4 cents. That sounds typical. It sounds pretty typical. So then there will be a submit functionality. There will be a validation functionality for adding line items when we get to that. But that's good. We saw it run. Spamtastic. So here is our test. We are going to give our test a reference to the Blazor UI because BUnit is installed with this test, which means that we will be able to test each component for unit testing. As I understand, BUnit is really geared towards unit testing the components. It's not geared towards end-to-end testing. Although you can do some amount of it, it's still more specifically, let's test this one component for this one thing. And so, yeah, I'm gonna try Dukasoft. But this is an article that Eagle sent to me. I asked him for some input on maybe having a case or making a case for using BUnit over any of the other testing libraries out there. And he's like, I kind of recommend using a combination of BUnit for unit testing components and Playwright for doing end-to-end testing. And if you already have something like Selenium installed or in the repo and it's being used, then go ahead and use that. But he still recommends Playwright. But this is an article written by him that details all of that. So I put the link in chat. And hopefully, if any of you are watching on the YouTubes and you want this article, you can see it on screen and it's not too choppy, too broken up for you. If anything, just pause and let it render, buffer, something. Anyway, hi Belinda. How are you doing on this fantastic Monday? I hope you are well. Definitely don't answer if you're busy, but just saying hi back with all of your wonderful science waves. Okay, so I'm swamped and a little bit stressed, but it's gonna be good. Everything, it's like it's a good kind of stress. Um, so I rarely say stressed in a negative way. If I want to say something negative, it would, or about not, gosh, if I want to say something in a way that means that I really don't want to feel this way, it's usually to do with anxiety and frustration. But stress, I'm okay with stress. Stress is not a bad thing for me. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot that we're trying to get done at my job by 6 p.m. today, and it is currently 11 a.m. And I am weighing in heavily on this effort, and I really wasn't expecting to, but I'm glad I am. Because the overall result would most likely involve me in a leadership role for it anyway. So being a part of it now is a really cool opportunity that I didn't think I would get this early on. I'm 4 months in to this job, and already they're asking me to participate in things like this. So it's really awesome. It's really cool. But it's also a lot of work that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to be a, a developer. But good times, good times. Yeah, seriously, Deflux. It's like, man, didn't I just start this project a couple weeks ago? That's what it feels like, but it's been 4 months. Take me to your leader. Awesome. Thank you so much for the follow, Cheeky Trooper. Welcome into the Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion. If you haven't been lurking this whole time and you're here for the first time, I am a full stack developer. I use a lot of .NET technologies, predominantly Blazor oriented, Blazor focused. So Blazor Wasm, Blazor Server, and now Maui. And so what we're doing on our stream is going through a full stack project. Thank you, Dukasoft. That is a financial management tracker. And because I had been working predominantly on my own or maybe with one other developer, a junior developer, I never really had the opportunity to do a lot of the normal DevOps business processes, except for as a solo dev, which I tried to employ all of the ones that made sense to do. But now I'm part of larger teams in my new job, and I wanted to get a better handle on setting up tests, doing test-driven development. So that's the portion that we're on now. If you're interested in seeing the progress for how we made it here, the easiest ways are to review the GitHub for this project. It's open source. It is public. And take a look at just what we want to do with this project. Then I will have this public sooner or later once I figure out how I can do it for free. Apparently it wants to open in desktop. But this is just the sketch of the UI. And I'm starting to put together this Trello board for work that we want to get done as far as backend services, as far as core business logic. But I guess I do have some UI stuff in here too. My current focus in my job is to do a lot of UI work. So someone gave me a design and I implemented that design in Blazor using Blazor. And now we're integrating it with the original product that they wanted to have redesigned. And so that's been a lot of fun. But that also means that I'm not very strong in UI design, UX design. I'm good at implementing it. I'm good at implementing business logic, but I'm not good at testing. So I'm trying to fill in those gaps. Also involving you guys for the fun. So Cheeky Trooper says, I myself am a software developer, but I keep going to start a project, but then brush it off. What's your motivation other than learning those specific parts? Ooh, that's a hard one for me to answer because my personality, my core motivation comes from, is more easily defined if you understand personality types. I'm an INTJ. I'm an Enneagram 1. Put elements of those together. It's not like saying, because I'm labeled this way, I am doing this. It's I do these things, and a good explanation of why I do these things is through those typing systems. But that said, my core motivation comes from the inside. It comes from me having this desire to do these things. It's very little motivation from there are other people that are doing it. There are people giving me validation when I do these things. It's all about here's some things that I want to have. I have these goals that I want to achieve, for example. And part of those goals means learning these specific parts of technology, especially software development. Other motivating factors come from struggling through something and not getting it and not getting it and then eventually figuring it out. And I've established a pattern that it doesn't really matter what it is. As long as I have the desire to figure it out, I'm going to figure it out. And then the success of that is a pretty big high. And so I've associated struggling with this dopamine hit, essentially. And so, yeah. So for my personality type, it's reinforcement still. It's the normal process for just about any human to go from having a habit to having a routine. And yeah, associating this hard thing with this positive outcome, and then triggers that make me want to do this hard thing to get this positive outcome. But again, it's all motivated from within. But not only is the motivation from within, so it is the super loud, harsh critic, which for me is an audience of people that's watching me perform. And it's not like, you guys on Twitch being that audience. It's this internal audience that I've always had that's either cheering me on because I'm going the right direction, we're getting stuff done, or booing me and jeering me for making the wrong choices and doing things the wrong way. So it's rough sometimes. Yes, took us out. Yeah. Oh my goodness, there's a good one. I don't know what the beginning part of it was because I was saying like a million things, but Dukosoft said and not getting it. But after 6 months, it suddenly clicks. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter how much time it takes for me. It's that ultimate click. It's like for people that like games like the Souls series, having that super hard challenge and then eventually overcoming whatever boss it is because you're starting to see patterns, you're starting to figure out how to play your character better, your build, or you maybe do some research and find a better build to beat that boss. It's a lot like that, but for software development. So a lot of gamification, a lot of finding out what gives me that dopamine hit, a lot of knowing my limits. Knowing what I am good at. And then, of course, there is still, so I don't want to completely lie because I do leave this out and I do play it down so much, but hearing someone say, we highly value you and the work that you did in this, it's really nice. And so when I get that on occasion, I do like it, but I'm not looking for it. That's not a motivating factor. It just, it provides that positive reinforcement so that the audience is like, oh, wait, we shouldn't be booing here. We should be cheering. Yes, I remember that now, Dukasoft. I remembered it while I was saying it out loud. So Dukasoft was like when you kept saying and getting it, or and not getting it, and not getting it, and not getting it, but then 6 months later it clicks. But yeah, anyway, welcome in. Feel free if you are a new developer, if you are an intermediate developer, if you're an expert developer, it doesn't matter. We would like to invite you to our Discord. So always feel free to join our Discord, ask whatever questions come up, answer whatever questions you feel like answering in Discord. The main thing that we ask is treat people like their questions matter and they aren't just wasting your time. Our Discord is for you to ask whatever question you have. And then we may, like Deflux asked a really good question earlier, which we might want to discuss at some point in time. But he gave his scenario, and it didn't make sense to me, so I chimed in with some follow-up questions myself, but I didn't want to invalidate his thoughts or his approach. I wanted to answer his question within the context of what he's trying to do. And so that's all that I ask if you're going to answer people. If you're going to ask questions, up front, ask whatever questions you have, but just keep in mind that if you keep asking questions, people will probably want to respond to you more if you've done a little bit of research up front. Yeah, it seemed like a really interesting thing because I was like, it sounds like you want this thing that's running on the server that you can call into that will give you some dashboard related stuff. How are these processes going? Are they still reachable? Are they online? What's the health of the server? What's the health of these virtual machines kind of thing? But it sounded like they wanted the application itself to be running on the server as well. And so they would only use the application on the server as opposed to call it from somewhere else, or both. You wanted both. You want an app that can run on the server that gives them a view, and then an app that's running outside of the server that can call into those processes to get back the information. In which case, a worker service or a hosted API on the server would be your two best bets. And making your MAUI application, but you're talking about the user interface portion. You're not talking about the thing that is actually getting the information to send out. So I think there are two separate applications here. I mean, it's one big application, but it's the front end and the back end. And the back end would be the thing that you write as either a worker service, which you said they don't want a console app, or an API that is listening for requests, or something that responds with Signal R, something that responds over gRPC. But that is separate from the application that's doing the requesting to monitor or whatever it is supposed to be doing. And so you can write the application that does the monitoring with MAUI, absolutely, especially MAUI Hybrid, but the API wouldn't go in the MAUI app. The API would be a worker service or an API project that gets installed or hosted on the server. Did that make sense? At least that would be my recommendation for that. It's just like this, actually. I have this API project, and this is the thing that's going to get deployed to the server. There's a WASM component to it that can be served for end users, but there's also a MAUI component to it that can be installed and uses HTTP requests to the server to get the data. So it doesn't matter what front end I'm trying to get, I'm trying to use, what client I'm trying to use to display the data from the server if my server is one standard API that anything can call into. In fact, they were just talking about that on the Visual Studio channel with their Discord bot discussion. Which I recommend going and checking out the .NET channel on YouTube for the video playback posting thing. References. Okay, so what I would like to do with this is come up with a few services, few methods for our services, actually the services and a few methods for the services, so that we can start building out the implementation by using test-driven development. I don't know if that's the right approach, but it's how my brain thinks we should go, and maybe I should look it up, but right now it's like there are too many things going on for me to want to look it up. So for example, we have an accounts service. I don't like this one at all, so we're getting rid of it. This one we just kind of created while we were coming up with some examples. But accounts would not be what we want. It's like an management service. And the management service will be the thing that we are adding payees, adding and removing accounts, adding line item types and everything like that. So that would be a management service in my opinion. So let's find that implementation for it as well, because that no longer exists. And in the client side, okay, and just to give a rundown of this again, my project structure is I have a Blazor WebAssembly project less the shared folder. So I just created a brand new Blazor WebAssembly from Visual Studio, file new project, Blazor WebAssembly. I pulled out the shared project and put it in a place that's accessible to anything else in this app. And then I also pointed my client project to this app here, which is in a separate Blazor class library that I called Blazor UI, so that I could add a Blazor server only version, which also points to that. And so what this means is I will have multiple implementations of the same service, of the same way to, or not same way, the underlying thing that says this is how you get data from the server. So what I do for that is in my shared library, I make an interface for each of the services that I think I'm going to have. Usually it's when I need a service, I create the interface for it, and then I create the implementation on the client side, and then a server side implementation. But the reason that I do that is so that if we have any new project types, we could just add it. For example, Maui. So I added a new Maui Blazor Hybrid app. I pointed it to the same app.razor. So here in main page, there is this Blazor web view that is pointing to app.razor from that shared class library, and it will have its own, potentially have its own implementation of those services as well. If it's not going to be using that HTTP client that the Blazor WebAssembly client side uses, exactly, when you need a service, go interface. So it might not be necessary that we're using the same approach that we would for a Blazor WebAssembly app in our Maui app, but my assumption is that we will be using the same type of HTTP client, OAuth, authentication stuff, provide the bearer token, and then get everything back that way. Get all of our data back from our API requests. but we're not even, we weren't even supposed to be thinking about the Maui app yet. I just showed that, last week, Thursday? It was either Wednesday or Thursday that we just went ahead and added the Maui application because I needed to make the stream fast. And I thought, creating a new Maui project and pointing it to the Blazor UI, that's fast. Let's do that. So that's this overall project structure. So when you see me adding in a service, and so again, just to clarify my definition of service, a service is anything that will be in charge of whatever application you're interacting with. It'll be what's in charge of sending the request to get data or to update data or to add new data, and then receive a response from that operation. And so most of the time with the Blazor WebAssembly's client side, that's going to be a HTTP request that sends a request to the API. On the API, it's going to be a server-side implementation that says, go to the database and do the operation, send back the results of that operation. Good? Good. Let's continue then. So the types of interfaces, I said we're going to have that management service, and this will be for managing all of our lookup lists and accounts and all of those other things that I said it's going to do. The payment entry, this should be transaction entry. Rename the symbols file. That renames the file at the same time as renaming the this thing. Those are the only two that I can really think of off the top of my head. The authentication method that we use, the identity and all of that stuff, we're going to worry about later. Right now, it's just going to be an unprotected. All of my endpoints are going to be unprotected, and we're going to do the authentication and authorization stuff at the end and put in all of our authorized attributes and access control, which is most likely going to be role-based access control. Later. So we want to do these. I have no idea what these are. Get transaction entry now. All right. It was close. Nice try, Copilot. Do you have any other suggestions, maybe? Alt period? No, no other suggestions. Okay, so just about everything that we do, because we have the we have the potential to be doing using a HTTP request, they're all going to be returning some sort of task. So a task of, and then everything that I return is going to be a response model of. And what response model is, if you didn't see me set that up on Friday, it wraps all of our actual return objects inside of something that I can put errors in and then render those errors on a component, or actually see the stack trace, or just render it as HTML. Whatever I feel like doing with those errors, they get added in here, along with just an easy way to tell, did this operation complete successfully? If so, then we do one thing. If not, then we most likely display the error message. Makes sense? And if I do go too fast on any of this, please feel free to slow me down if you are interested in following along and you do have questions. Clever lion, says Dukasoft. Thank you. I hope I'm not too clever, though. Sometimes I get to be a little too clever and can't even figure out what it is that I'm trying to do. So what do we need to do in our transaction entry? We know that we have 3 types of transactions that we are tracking in this application according to our designs. Right, I forgot to show this one because, my handwriting. So let's go into here while I'm waiting for that to load. We know that users will be able to track various financial accounts in the transactions and balances. And those transactions are not defined in this overview. Okay. But we did sketch it out in our ideas. Oh, that'd be another good board to put on here. The brainstorming board that we actually currently have as a whiteboard. This is that project structure that I was talking about that I mentioned. Feel free to pause if you're actually interested in trying to decipher what this is. But it's somewhere down here. Okay, so we have our payment entry, which is you purchase something from a vendor or from someone that you are paying money to. A transfer, which is moving money from one account that you have tracked in this system to another account that you have tracked in this system. Deposit, which is you are receiving money from an outside source and putting it into an account that is tracked in this system. And then we have the transaction history information. That's just a table that shows all of the transactions, filterable, sortable, etc., etc. This calendar page is going to come later because I haven't fully thought through that. So yeah, those three transaction types, payment, transfer, deposit, are the ones that we want to be able to do. Could that be one endpoint, or do we want to create them as multiple? I think for clarity's sake, we should do it as multiple methods. Oh man, but that means it's almost like what we would want to do is, I have an idea. That's a terrible idea. Is to have a CRUD operation for every single one of our transactions. And those would all return, oh man, I got rid of it though, either a payment entry view model, a transfer view model, or a deposit view model. Because here's option one. Option one is we create a single transaction entry service that will return a response model of, let's just do them in turn, deposit view model, add deposit, and then we send it a deposit view model. And actually, in this case, this could simply be a response model base of int, unless there is something more that we want to do with the deposit view model before sending it back. So for example, this int here, would it even be that? It would just be a response model base. Yeah, this would just be a response model base, which there is no response model that doesn't have a generic on it, right? Okay, so this is a response model base because one of the properties that we have in our response model base is oh, it is response model base of T key. Aha. Okay, so that's why it would be response model base of int. So the thing that we're expecting to be returned with this is the new record ID if a new record was created. And we would also delete deposit, usually by ID, which would return a once again, we can keep a record ID in this one. Just the response model base and maybe the record ID of the record that was deleted, because if it wasn't actually deleted, then we would have one of these add error methods called, in which case we would see that it was an error. And if the delete errored, then that means no delete happened, and then we would get some message that we can output. So then we have update, which we can pass in the deposit view model. Which I usually do it in that order. And then my get. I know, that's what I want to do, but not yet. We're going with this one first. Task of response. We get two gets usually in this kind of a pattern. We get one where it is a list of deposit view model. Get deposits. And what I would like to have, oh yeah, in all of these, so I'm glad I'm doing it this way because I forget and then I have to go through and update everything. But one thing that I would like in this one is a date time nullable as of date, I think is what I usually call it. And we'll default it to null as well as a cancellation token. I will be streaming until about 12:15, so another 45 minutes, because I need to hop off and then be ready for an entire, it's most likely going to be 6-hour work session to Kazan. I'm always streaming. Okay. You, and you will get a cancellation token. Oh, I normally just call them CT. Whoops. And you forgot a thing. Default. Hopefully I put equals default here. Okay, CT. And so what this will allow is, let's say that we are allowing, not let's say, we are allowing for whatever implements this to have whatever we want to have as our, oh man, do we want to go ahead and shut it up now? Anyway, as we are trying to get data from this, then we are determining, we're able to cancel the request is what I'm trying to say. Holy cow, I got lost in thought there. We're trying to allow, while we are getting the list of deposits, to be able to cancel that request. Maybe we are navigating away from the page. Maybe we are paging to another set of deposits. But in any of those cases, I would like to be able to cancel the HTTP request if it's client side, or the database request if it's server side. But that also means setting this up front for paging. which usually ends up creating some really disgusting looking endpoints. Oops. So for example, p equals 0. Actually, I will go ahead and do page. And then in the controller, that's when the API controller, that's when we can simplify these to just letters. So page size, we'll do 100 results per page by default. What else do we normally need when we set up paging at an endpoint? There is a version that we probably would prefer to use, which is starting record. Because let's say that we're using something like the virtualized component and we're scrolling through and that's what's doing the HTTP request as we're scrolling, then that gives us starting record and the number of records to give back. So I think we're going to go with the start record property. Okay, so anyway, that's one of our gets that is also set up for paging. The other get is let's find one deposit view model by ID. Again, cancelable. So here's where the issue comes in. If I continue this way, then I will have 3 copies of each of those methods, and they would probably do pretty much the same thing. And for example, this one would be transfer, and this one would be payment. Oh, I called it payment entry. Okay, that's done. Oh man. All right, so I just got an update that one of the things that I'm going to be reviewing was completed by the person that needed to make the updates per my recommendations. Refresh. Mm, 12 seconds. I just want to know what it is that I am working with. Oh, why are there still yellow boxes? There's still unanswered questions. Okay, that'll be fun. I just needed to see if I needed to respond to that right away, and I don't. Okay, So we would either do 3 copies like this, or we would have an iTransaction service of T data entry model. And then we would essentially create a data entry model interface. iTransaction data entry model. Which would not be allowed to be internal because we will use it in multiple. Yeah, we're going to be returning an iTransaction data entry view model. No, we won't. We will only be using the interface within our shared library because it's only going to be one of these 3 that will be implementing it. Oh, come on. All that I copied was iTransaction data view model. Oh, I crashed Visual Studio. Goodbye. I will miss you. Let me cancel. Oh, there we go. Sumimasen. Wait. Oh, okay. Just kidding. Close. Don't report the problem. That takes even longer than just restarting the project. Oh my gosh. Fine, man. Deposit was too large, says Dukasoft. Never. It opened way over here. It's like, where are you? Excuse me. There you go. Okay, so let's find that thing that we just copied to our clipboard so that we can update you. Hey, it worked this time. Why are you angry now? Oh, because iTransaction view model is less accessible than this, but that's how I want it. I want this to be only used within my shared project namespace. And I want this to be exposed. Whatever. I don't want to fight you. No. No. Oh my goodness, all I do is just Payment was too large. Oh my goodness. Floating hand. It's almost like Visual Studio doesn't want me to write tests. This is true. It's not me. It's Visual Studio. Hurry up and do your still loading collapse everything. There you go. I know you want to. All right. Take your time. colon space I transaction data entry view model. I'm just going to type it out. I'm not going to try pasta. Give it some time to load. I transaction data entry view model. Good, good. All right, so one of the things that I would like inside of that is my transaction type. So we're going to make a transaction type enum. I use a lot of enums, if you couldn't tell. I was asked, why are you using so many enums in the current project that we're working on? And I was like, I prefer to use them over strings. I don't know. I've never seen enums used like that. True, most likely, but I have definitely found it to be useful to use them like this. Anyway, deposit, payment, transfer, alphabetically. Okay, so each of my iTransaction data entry view models must declare pooldic a transaction type get. All right, so I want to consider, should I be using an abstract class here? And this would be an instance where if I were to try to make this into an abstract class, public abstract class transaction data entry view model base. Dugasoft says, why are you doing X like that? Story of my code. Because this is the solution that I came up with. Why are you living the way you're living? Public abstract transaction type. Yeah, like how would I tell it that I want this to be an abstract method? So this is, which means if I was going to do it like this, I really wish that I would take the time to determine which of these two approaches would be better. Tukusov said, I guess the best answer is because I didn't have fancy people to talk with when I learned the basics. Truth. It's definitely true for me. Oh, that doesn't go in here. Why are you even open? You're not supposed to be open. Why were they open? Okay, so I've already added it to all of them. So let's say that I wanted to use the abstract class version of it instead of the interface. Both of them would look like this, except this wouldn't have the override keyword when I use the interface. My service, which got closed when it crashed, would be where T data entry model is a transaction data entry view model base. And when I implement this on the client side, no, when I do my dependency injection, so let's just do server-side dependency injection real quick. I don't want to do that yet. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to question it because I don't have enough information to make a sound decision. So I'm going to go with what I'm familiar with. I know that's not a great reason to go with stuff, but I'm going to go with the interface because that's what I'm most familiar with anyway. So the point is, let's say that I had an iTransaction entry service for any T data entry model that implements an iTransaction data entry model, then that means that I would only have one set of CRUD operations. Whoops. And all of these things that say deposit would be transaction data. And I guess for consistency, we may as well put view on there. And same thing for all of these. Let's make them consistent. All right. And that's what I'm going with. So all of you guys are interfaces. Wow. And I didn't have that as an interface this whole time, and nobody told me. I was like, why is this blue? Why don't I have a red squiggly? Yeah, I kid. That's not on any of you. So let's go with that. Did I spell it wrong? Transaction type. I did not spelt it wrong. Oh, because it's not override. Okay. So I think this is the direction that we're going to end up going. Unless anyone is like, hey, we really should go make one for each. Make one service interface for each. Deflex says, I support this class. These are payments. I'm a big supporter of transaction community. Well said. Well ding. Transfer, payment, deposit. Okay, so this is going to be essentially our discriminator that's going to tell us what exactly this thing should be deserialized as if we ever use an iTransaction data entry view model as the thing that we're returning back. But in most cases, we will be using the actual concrete class as our return type until we get to our transaction history table, which we want all types back. But in that case, my assumption is that the actual state class that's going to hold all of our transaction history information for that page is going to do all three API requests at the same time for transactions, for those three types of transactions. So I think this is still a good approach. That said, okay, so let's just make this class. Okay, so that was complaining because it's like the return type on here is not a reference type, or is potentially not a reference type. And response model base here, or sorry, regular response model requires it to be a reference type. And so I am, I don't know what the correct term is here. I'm constraining T data entry view model to be a class that implements iTransaction data entry view model. Therefore, it is a reference type, guaranteed. Guarantees T's. Okay, so that means that we're not going with this one, so that goes away. And for our I management service, let's just think of a few things that this thing could do. This is probably going to be a similar thing where we have the different lookup models that we could be managing. And so this would be of. All I did was put a spacebar this time. We will get there today. I know we will. I know I can. Okay. We'll just write these three real quick, and then we will start our first test. I think it's going to be 3. I don't know why I said 3. That's what came out. So apparently we're gonna write 3. Happy Monday, Visual Studio. This is Dukasoft. So true. Oh man. Do they say that to you? Do people just come up to you and say, looks like somebody has the case of the Mondays? I mean, what is it with that? Probably not an exact quote. I'm terrible at quoting things, by the way, if you can tell. That's supposed to be from Office Space. Service interfaces, iManagement service interface of T lookup item view model. I'm terrible at quotas also. Really good at twisting my words though. Where T lookup item is a class and an I lookup item view model. Okay, so we can do all of our, oh, but this is the management service. This isn't necessarily the I want to call it I lookup item service because we're doing more than just managing it with this. We are requesting all of our lookup item view model stuff. Okay, I'm going to call it that lookup item service. Otherwise, I'm going to confuse myself by trying to go off of my standard path too much. Okay, so again, CRUD operations. So I'm going to copy pasta. And pasta. Cool. There we go. Done. So, man, that makes me wonder, is there just a way that I can do all of this with one service that is generic? Since it's all CRUD operations only? I wouldn't want to. I just hid my desktop, or I went to a completely different desktop. Let's go back here. Oops. Okay, so let's see if we can scaffold out one of our testices. And the way we're going to do that is implement both of those services by creating a lookup item service. This is all server side that I'm looking at right now. And a transaction entry service. And those two will respectively implement iTransaction service. No. Okay, cool. And we will have it implement all of our interfaces. And I will put it in my normal order. And notice I'm leaving it with that look like 42 desktops. It's only 6. I have no idea why I have 6 desktops, but there's only 6. I use at most 2 at a time. Get transaction and get transaction by ID, then add, update, delete. It's the normal order that I put stuff in. Okay, so like I said, notice that I am leaving these as not implemented exceptions because we want all of our tests to fail up front in test-driven development. What I don't know about test-driven development as far as unit testing backend services like this is should we have set up a whole bunch of tests without even knowing what models we're using or even interfaces or services and then create those models and services and interfaces. I like this approach because I have established here's my service, here are the models. Oh my goodness, it's Moonyak. Moonyak. I like how you put moon for this one. But anyway, Moonyak is here. He decided to resub. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 13 months in a row. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate you. I hope you're having a fantastic start of your week, or whatever part of your week happens to be. Yeah. We're enjoying ourselves. We're about to write our first test. Are we, though? I'm going to find some excuse to not. Look up item view model. Don't say that. That's a lie. I will not find an excuse. We're going to do it. Copy. Pasta. And implement. I have never done TDD before. I mean, I tried once and I didn't get very far because I didn't try super hard. No, that's what it is. So what I have are two services. Dukasoft has. And those two services I was recently stuck on JUnit test for 2 days, so I'm definitely not a fan. Yeah, I just don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna have a folder for my business logic testing, which I have here. And so I'm gonna have essentially one unit test per service, one unit test class per service. So look up item service tests. Oops, I could have created the other one as well. Transaction entry service tests. Transport Tycoon Deluxe. Yes. And Munyak was like, well. Okay, so here's something that maybe we can do. Can we use Visual Studio's built-in? Why don't I have XUnit in that drop? Probably because it's not installed in the project. Why isn't XUnit in this? J. Sakamoto. Let's give it a try. Oh, but if I do that, I'm going to close my bot. Hello, Defines. Happy Monday to you as well. Miss your streams.
It's over 9,000!
But I hope you're doing well. It is over 9,000. I'm going to stop the bot for a minute while I restart a Visual Studio so that I can install XUnit extensions. Untaskus. Dukasoft. Flip the table. I told you it was gonna be turned off. Oh, that is an awesome flip table emote though. Or ASCII art. I love it. You wanted to spam. So the WhatsApp one has cooldowns. It's over 9,000 one, I think, only has like a 15-second cooldown. But I'm not a big fan of the WhatsApp one. Not gonna lie. And then we put the table back. That is awesome. Oh man. WTF flipping tables. This one's great. Whoa, flipping other people. Flipping a. Wait, what is this one? Epic table flip? Oh, yes. This would be me. But this one's the best. I like that one a lot. Okay. There's Finance Man. Did I not actually open the bot? Hello bot. Hello bot. Loading. 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 Oops. That one. Done it. Watch. Excuse me. Come on. Connect to Twitch. And join channel One Lion. It is my channel. Okay, I think the bot is reconnected. Cool. So, can I now create unit tests for X unit? I can't. Yes. 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 Find and install other generators. Maybe I just installed the wrong one. Oh, it's in NuGet Package Manager. Oh, so it really does have to be a NuGet package, not an extension. Well, how do I tell it to use XUnit from here? Or do I have to add XUnit to the library that's being tested? Hopefully that gets tree shaked. I'm assuming Master Rat's here. Hello, Master Rat. XUnit. XUnite. Can we get the right XUnit, please? Yeah. Tell me which one you are. Which XUnit are you? Actually, let's do it like this. Let's go LATSGO tools, manage NuGet packages, XUnit. Find out which one is already installed. This one, install it for my shared server, and update it for you. How you doing, Master Rat? Is your day going well? Is my day going well? Why didn't that install for you? It did. Just took an hour. Jeez. Okay, so hopefully that means we can create XUnit tests. Am I missing steps? Did I just... Open the NuGet package manager, search for the test framework you want to install, and then click install. Update to the latest test adapters. Open the NuGet package manager, click on updates, go to the latest stable for each of them. I don't know. Dukasoft says, master is also important. Test framework is also available in Marketplace. So let's go back to here and see if there is XUnit. Maybe we need to find one that is called test generator. Test generator and unit extension. So test generator XUnit. Nope. So who knows if that's the right one? I sure don't. I don't know what the deal is. I was hoping to be able to generate tests using IntelliTest, but I don't know how to get it to show XUnit. They're called... I don't remember. I was hoping that it would give me the scaffolding template for a standard XUnit thing, and so the class gets an attribute of some sort. Like, I know fact and I know theory, but I don't know if the class itself gets an attribute. All right, who wrote this? NUnit developers wrote this. So who writes all of our XUnit stuff? Probably Jay Sakamoto. Most likely. We'll just download it, see what happens. We can put that. I don't wanna. I just want to write this out. XUnit tests. How about some docs? We created an XUnit test. Fine. Namespace. Oh, so the class does not. But you are a TDD expert for your Turbo Transport Tycoon Deluxe. My bad. I said it wrong. I know. Yeah, I know. I really want to get one in here though. I want to get a failing test in here really quick. So yes, let's do a fact. And what we're going to test, what we're going to test is um, get all lookup items returns all lookup items. um, and so normally with your unit test, you have three. Good grief! I wanted to say this. Dang it! And Copilot. Um, you have three steps for a normal test. Some tests don't have the arrange steps. Some tests do. Most tests do. I don't know if I can say most tests. A lot of tests do. And arrange is where you set up your data, all of your mocking and everything like that. We fake our services, we fake our dependencies and stuff. This is really cool though. This is really cool that they give us this much code from Copilot. Then there's the act, which is the actual thing that you want to test. And then the assert is the end result that you are expecting. Um, and then you can test this with different sets of data. So, for example, we would have an empty list test. So get all lookup items for an empty list for no items added returns no items. Because we wouldn't expect to see any items if there are no items in the list. If we have 6 items in a list, then we should expect to see 6 items back. So that would be our arrange step. But the thing is that we need an actual lookup item service. And so the cool thing is, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but you can use dependency injection. To request a lookup item service. You could also create your own, and this is probably what happens more often. You create your own lookup item service instance. So you're requesting an actual lookup item service concrete class that you're trying to test instead of the interface for it. But this could potentially. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, we can still do that. Deposit entry view model. Okay. And so that's going to be interesting. Normally what I have is a lookup item service that would, all of the methods would return an I lookup item view model or a list of I lookup item view model. But here, I'm doing it a little bit different. Maybe. Why is it angry at these? I don't know why it's angry at these. It can't. Oh. Wait, it can. There is no implicit conversion from deposit entry view model to lookup item view model. Oh my goodness. I did the lookup items service. My bag. Let's just change all of this to transaction service entry service tests. And we'll change this one to lookup item. Crap. Item. Okay. There we go. Whoops. Whoops. All right. Anyway, then we would be able to do something like, instead of get all transactions, get all deposit. And then we would have one for get all payments and one for get all transfers. Cool. Then we'd have deposits service dot get transaction data. And so we would have our range where we set up the data that we are supposed to return, and then we go down here and we say, when we go run this method, do we get that data? And so this is going to involve mocking our database or our repository in whatever way we need to do that. So we're going to do that tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll take our time with it. So this may take us the entire week to just do the mocking of the data and set that up, but I want to get that done correctly because I've never done that before either. So I hope you guys do join me again. That's the end of my stream for now. I need to get ready for this work session. Hopefully I'll have a minute to go grab something to eat before that starts, but you can't see me. I'm here. I promise. I'm here. So's Batman. Batman's here. I love Batman. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to be busy in the meeting, so I won't be anywhere except for in that meeting doing work. Okay. That's it for me. Ciao for now. Shalom. Have fun. Okay, bye. Do you mind adding a range act insert on the first one at least? Arrange act assert. Okay, so I added them as comments. I'll check that in. But yeah, you guys didn't actually see it. But I just added comments for it. We won't be able to arrange until we have a mock for the database. And then the assert, we actually need some kind of list to assert against. Okay, but for now, that's it. Talk to you again tomorrow. Tschüss.